Hi everybody, it's Cash. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. This is an unusual episode in that it features a crossover and a transition, but of two people who are completely unrelated. The reason I'm doing this is because I did these people on the other channel and featured them in main episodes, and I thought if I don't rescue them from there and put them on here, they will be lost forever. So the people I've done are, first of all, Josemaria Escrivá. He is the founder of Opus Dei, the religious organization, and I thought his transition would be particularly interesting to people on this channel. And also, I did a crossover, not the full transition this time, for Indira Gandhi, the former Prime Minister of India. Really fascinating, each one in their own way, both as people, of course, but in the way they crossed over. I am always fascinated in the way that people who have a very, very deep and firm, unshakable religious conviction, how they go through the process of transitioning. And so Josemaria Escrivá was particularly interesting to me. But here they are. First of all, Escrivá, and then later on, Indira Gandhi. Very, very interesting, both of them. I don't know how much you know about Opus Dei. I know next to nothing, frankly, except that it was in the Dan Brown novels, The Da Vinci Code, and so on, depicted as this dark, sinister, backdoor organization within the Roman Catholic Church that was simply up to no good. For whatever reason, I don't know if any of that was true, but in real life, it has fewer than 100,000 members, most of them lay people who simply want to explore their Catholic faith and become more holy and closer to God. It was founded in the 1920s by a deeply religious man called Josemaria Escrivá, who was much respected and liked and even loved in his day. He had a bit of a bad temper, apparently, and he was very conservative, leaned far to the right politically, although he tried not to be political. And he died in 1975, was canonized in 2002 by Pope John Paul II. He's now the patron saint of diabetics, apparently. But because he started Opus Dei, we'll get to J.D. Vance in a second, but because he started Opus Dei, it will be interesting to look at his transition pictures to see what happened. He died of a coronary, basically, in 1975, and when I went into his energy, there he is, when I went into his energy, he just slammed into a wall. That's your heart attack right there. But his consciousness was alive for a while afterwards. This wasn't a quick death for him. He fell and fell and fell really hard, like bam, 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 and just landed at the entrance to that cave that I always see. And it was a shock to his system. Not only how hard he had fallen, but that God was not there. That whatever he'd been expecting to see, to feel, to engage with after his death, it was entirely different. And he took a while to stand up. And when he did, he slumped down. He was almost reverential to this empty space. There was nothing there. But he was bowed, hunched over. Oh, I'm going to meet God. Oh, I'm going to meet God. He was both elated and terrified at the same time. There was a tunnel, like there always is, that he has to climb to get to the point, the light, where they ascend. And as he walked up it, I felt prickling, a painful prickling all over my skin. It was as if you got a pair of tweezers and started pulling the hairs out of my arms. Or 10,000 bees were stinging me all over. It was like, oh, ow, ee, ah, oh, ah. I'm assuming that his preconceptions, which were rigid because he was so conservative, so right-leaning, his preconceptions, also about religion, about God, about Jesus, whatever, his preconceptions were being torn away from him. Let this one go. That's not true. Let that one go. Come on, tweezers, hair. oh, ow, ee, ow, oh, ee. So much so that by the time he got to that metaphorical cave that I always see that has the light in, he was ready to go just to be relieved of this pain, this constant niggling, agonizing pulling of hairs or bee stings or whatever it was, to the point where he basically just fell into the light. He was compliant because it's like anything to stop this pain, even at this late stage where none of it mattered anymore. He was determined to hold on to this rigid framework of his beliefs and would rather struggle and squirm to the bitter end than let it go. Now, somebody asked if I would do transition pictures for Indira Gandhi. She became Prime Minister of India when I was 10. And I think stayed in power till I left college. Then she wasn't in power. Then she went back to be Prime Minister and then stayed as PM until 1984 when she was assassinated. Her father was the first Prime Minister of India and her son, Rajiv Gandhi, succeeded her as the next Prime Minister. She ran the country with a rod of iron sometimes. She was very, very successful, but also incredibly powerful as a political figure. Very, very strong, very daunting. She ordered a raid on a Sikh temple, and as revenge, 2 of her bodyguards, who were Sikhs, killed her. 30 bullets went into her body, and you don't survive that. And so I took a quick look at what happened, and when I did, there was a room, a darkened room. That's me there, by the way, walking in and looking around, because there was nothing in it, not even her. It was just empty, but dark. Then I looked up behind me, and close to the ceiling, there was what looked like a poltergeist, like something out of Scooby-Doo. High in the room. And it just hung there. I have never seen that before, but it just hung there. Then it moved across the room to the other side, and I could see that it was on some kind of metal armature, some kind of mechanical arm. And when you went behind the poltergeist, it was just a mechanical figure, like an animatronic figure, covered in some kind of mask or surface thing. Not a real entity at all. Not a real consciousness at all. It was mechanical. It was for show. And I waited to see if something else happened, and nothing did. And then I thought, you know what I'll do? I'll go and sit in that metaphorical symbolic cave that I always see for all these people, and just wait for her to arrive. See if she does. Clearly I had nothing else to do with my life that morning, but I thought I'll just wait and see. So I go in my head, I go into that symbolic cave, and she's already there. There is a girl, young woman, but a girl probably, lying on the floor sobbing, crying her eyes out. This is Indira Gandhi. What was in the dark room was Indira Gandhi, world leader, strong woman, living up to her father's expectations, being powerful. This was Indira Gandhi, the real person, her authentic self, her soul self, vulnerable, small. A girl, not this brute of a woman who commanded armies and won a war against Pakistan and so on. That was the difference. Then at some point, she leapt to her feet and went, no, this isn't right. Somebody's going to pay for this. Suddenly she changed. Like, somebody's going to pay for this. She was furious, frustrated, angry, determined to fight back. There was nobody to fight against, but determined. And she marched off up that tunnel that I always see that connects this cave thing to the light that they go into. She just marched off before I could even follow her. And by the time I got to the tunnel to look up it, she was in trouble. Because darts, it's a bit like Indiana Jones, darts had come out of the walls and the ceiling, attached to little strings. And they fired off in every single direction, tying her up in knots. She couldn't move. She couldn't go anywhere. This was the universe saying, no, 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 no. You're not coming in here with that attitude. Leave that behind. You're not bullying your way into the afterlife. That's what it felt like. She was strung up completely in the middle of the tunnel. And she had to systematically undo every thread, one at a time. I saw her do it, one at a time. That can go. That can go. And in the process, she was unwittingly, I suppose, offloading her ego issues, her human mortal powers, her expectations, her sense of dominance, all that kind of thing. All had to go one at a time. And I felt that by the time that was done, she was back to being the girl again. Her father's daughter, the one who wanted to make him proud. And I let her go. I didn't want to follow her all the way through. But there was such a major difference between the powerhouse woman in the room outside, the mechanical animatronic figure that meant nothing, it was just there. Such a difference between that and the little girl on the floor crying. So vulnerable. It was all a mask. It was all a pretense. Living up to expectations. Beneath all of that, she was small and insecure and vulnerable, like the rest of us, basically. And that's what I got for Indira Gandhi.